So friends, there are more than 250,000 unsolved murders in this country. That's more than 250,000 families who lost a loved one to violent crime. Families who sit by the phone waiting for a call from a detective saying, we've got to break in your loved one's case. And friends, let me tell you, those calls never come. They almost never come. But there's actually something we can do to bring help and hope to those families. It's called the Homicide Victims Families Rights Act. And friends, this is a call to action. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, I want to post this short video today. I am down in Nashville attending CrimeCon again this year, and I'm talking on two topics. One of those topics is especially near and dear to my heart because it is a way to help bring some hope to homicide families around our country, families who had a loved one taken from them by violent crime and who just sit by, often passively, and wait for something to develop in their loved one's case. And they wait month after month and year after year, and nothing. We're approaching 300,000 unsolved murders in this country, and that is a damn disgrace. You know, we have professional law enforcement agencies all around the country that should be tackling cold case homicides. And there's a way we can actually encourage and inspire law enforcement into action. And let's be honest, often it is for a lack of resources, but I'm not going to talk about the resource issue because we've reached critical mass. I was a career homicide prosecutor at the Department of Justice, specifically in Washington, D.C., at the D.C. United States Attorney's Office. And as chief of homicide in that office, I was responsible for overseeing all murder prosecutions in Washington, D.C., and horrifically, business was always too good. Too much violence, too many murders, and certainly too damn many guns. But what I learned in my years of being in the homicide practice in D.C. is there are so many cold cases. There are more than 3,500 in Washington, D.C. alone. And as I say, we're approaching 300,000 unsolved murder cases in the United States. When I retired from the Department of Justice, I was determined to do something about that. And so what I did is I, sat down at my kitchen table and drafted up an early version of what would become the Homicide Victims Families Rights Act. I had a receptive audience in a former prosecutor who became a member of Congress named Eric Swalwell from California. He put me together with his legislative team, and we worked for years to make it a reality. The Homicide Victims Families Rights Act was passed into law by the Congress, I believe unanimously in both houses, and it was signed into law by President Biden in August of 2022. And here's what it provides. And here's how I'm going to ask for your help, because it's a federal law, but we need to get it out to the states as model legislation. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. It provides, in summary, that once a murder case grows cold, 3 years after the crime, a family will have a legal, statutory right to require the relevant police department to review that homicide investigation, and depending on the results of the review, to conduct a full reinvestigation with a new team of detectives who were not involved in the first investigation. This will be a sea change. As I say, it's on the books federally, and now we're in the process of pushing it out to the states as model legislation, which is exactly how the previous two Crime Victims' Rights Acts that came into existence federally managed to make their way to the states to bring real hope and help to victims of crime. The first was the Crime Victims' Rights Act, the CVRA, the Victims' Bill of Rights, passed in 2004. I believe it is now legislation on the books in every state in the country, some version of the Victims' Bill of Rights. Then it was the Sexual Assault Survivors' Rights Act, came on the books federally, pushed out to the states as model legislation, and I believe more than 30 states have enacted some version of the Sexual Assault Survivors' Rights Act, and now it's our time. It's our time to help homicide families with the Homicide Victims' Families' Rights Act. We want your help pushing it out to the states, and I'm going to give you an easy way to do it. A sample letter to write to your state senator or representative, to your city council member, to anybody you can think of, primarily who holds elected office in your state. And I'm not only going to read that very short letter to you, I'm going to post it in the description of this video. And you can just take it, fill in the blanks with your name and the name of your elected official, and send it off. Email it, text it, snail mail it. I love snail mail. Friends, this is a bipartisan thing. Republicans, Democrats, Independents. I think everybody would like to bring some help and some hope, some closure, some accountability, some justice even, to homicide families who lost a loved one to violent crime. And plus, there are a lot of offenders out there, people who took the life of a fellow human being and have not been held accountable. We need to hold those folk accountable, honestly, ethically, in accordance with the law and the Constitution, but we need to hold them accountable. We need to bring some closure for the victim's family. We need to protect the community from somebody who might still be involved in dangerous conduct. There's no reason not to do this. Let me turn to the sample letter. As I say, I will post it in the description of this video. Just, block and copy it, or cut and paste it, or whatever the right, term is. I'm really bad with computers. I can't even spell IT. That's how bad I am. But please use it as a sample letter, or change it. Draft a letter of your own and send it to your elected representatives and say, we want the Homicide Victims' Families' Rights Act to be adopted in our state because we want to help homicide families in our state. There's no reason not to do this. Families need a voice and they need some legal rights because they don't have any yet. We're going to change that. Let me read this short sample letter to you. Dear State Senator or Representative blank, I'm writing to urge you to enact a state version of the federal Homicide Victims' Families' Rights Act, the HVFRA. The HVFRA is designed to give families who lost a loved one to violent crime a legal right to have the relevant police department conduct a review of the homicide investigation once the case has grown cold, and, depending on the result of the review, a full reinvestigation. Homicide families sit by the phone, waiting for a call from a detective saying, we have a break in your loved one's case. Those calls almost never come. Homicide families deserve to have a legal right to have their loved one's homicide investigated fully, thoroughly, and professionally, and the HVFRA gives families that right. Georgia has passed a version of the HVFRA. California is moving in that direction, and hopefully other states will soon follow suit. Please give homicide families in our state some hope that their loved one's case will be given a review/reinvestigation to ensure that everything that can be done will be done to bring some closure and healing to families that have suffered the loss of a loved one to violent crime. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, you. Sincerely, you. Your name. It's up to us. We can do this. We can bring some long overdue help and hope to homicide families nationwide. Let's make it a reality in the states We worked mightily, and thank you to Congressman Eric Swalwell for hearing me out on this and for taking it up and leading the charge and beginning to bring hope and help to homicide families. But now it's up to us to push it out to the states as model legislation. Hopefully there will be some federal grant money, some assistance to local police departments to maybe help build their cold case squad, their cold case practice, and help these families that need help because they can't investigate their own cases. They can't investigate the murder of their loved ones on their own. They need help. They need our help. So let's make this a reality. Let's get it to the states as model legislation in state after state after state, and let's help bring some hope to these families. Because justice matters. Friends, thank you. Please go to the description of this video where you will find that letter, and let's make this happen. Please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.